Hello, passengers, co-pilots, shotgun callers, blunderbuss bellowers, and midnight riders. Welcome to episode 10 of Full Moon Empty Road. As always, I'm Jeremy, and I'll be your driver tonight. Can you believe it? We're 2 months and 10 episodes into Full Moon Empty Road. I cannot believe we've made it this long. I'm blown away by the amount of support I've gotten from you guys so far. I want to say thank you so much, and here's to another 10, maybe 20, maybe 100 more episodes. I hope everyone had a great week, and I hope you're ready for another road trip. And this week, I'm going to be playing 2 roles. I'll be your driver down the moonlit empty roads, and I'll be your jailer. We're going down to St. Augustine, Florida today, into America's oldest city and America's oldest jail, the Old Jail. Also known as the Old St. Johns County Jail. So get in, buckle up, grab the rock salt, and let's ride. We have work to do. As I said, also known as the Old St. Johns County Jail, the place was built in 1891 in a Romanesque revival style by the P.J. Pauley Jail Building and Manufacturing Company of St. Louis. That's a mouthful if I ever heard one. And then P.J. and then jail, or like jail building, Pauley Jail, P.J. Pauley Jail, too many P.J.'s. The old jail served as the St. Johns County Jail until 1953. After the jail facilities were moved into a new, more modern building, the vacant old jail was sold to entrepreneur Henry Slim McDaniel. He began operating the remarkably well-preserved building as a roadside tourist attraction. It was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1987. And I do want to take a quick break here, and I meant to mention this at the start of the show. I'm kind of in a different setup today, so I'm actually holding my mic this time instead of, I've got a stand for it, but I don't have the room today for where I usually record. So I'm holding on to it by the base and doing my recording. So if it sounds wonky, I'm sorry. This is about the 5th time I've tried to record today, and I'm to the point now that I'm ready just to be done with it once I've got it recorded. So let's move on. Like I said, I just wanted to mention that before we continue going. Originally built to house up to 72 male prisoners and 12 female prisoners, the 2-story northern wing of the jail consists of a gin pop and maximum security area, a women's section, and a lower kitchen level, or lower level kitchen. Maximum security housed the most dangerous prisoners held at the jail, and that included a death row cell for those condemned to die. A total of 8 men were hung from the gallows on the jail compound during its history. Overall conditions at the jail for those serving varying sentences were quite poor by modern standards, and prisoners were typically used as free farm laborers during the day. Those that couldn't work due to physical limitations were made to work in the front garden. So regardless of, I guess to the point of it, just downright to the point if you couldn't walk, you were going to do some sort of work. In the women's wing, 6 women would share one cell. The women were responsible for cleaning and cooking for the male prisoners along with the sheriff's family. And that's not the worst part. The women who were imprisoned there weren't necessarily criminals. They were more or less women of low reputation, and by that, they basically meant a family name without connections or unmarried. You know, the just the really despicable, disgusting stuff, like being unmarried or not having a name with connections. Baths were infrequent. Toilet facilities consisted of 1 bucket per cell, and diet was poor and was typically supplemented by animals that the prisoners might catch while working on the fields. Like I said last week, roadkill, it's what's for dinner. Segregation by race was steadfastly adhered to at the jail, and disease, violence, and death were commonplace. The 2-story southern wing of the jail consists of an office for the sheriff and living quarters for his family. And I couldn't imagine being a warden / sheriff and living in the same place where I've housed people who have been arrested for one reason or another. I mean, that to me, that's recipe. That's just a recipe for, a prison riot and a dead sheriff. These unlucky individuals were placed inside concrete cells the walls of which were so thick that no sound could be heard from the outside, nor a sound made within that could reach the outside world. Inside their cells, the prisoners were given no pillow nor blanket, only one mattress filled with Spanish moss, which was the favorite kind of environment for red bugs. So on top of everything else, not having a place to use the bathroom, barely getting a shower, barely having a place to sleep, they had to deal with red bugs, biters, stuff like that. And I get it, but a prison sentence isn't supposed to be a vacation stay, but from my understanding, a lot of the people that they ended up picking up not all of them were terrible, especially in the women's case. Those that refused to follow the rules were taken to solitary confinement, where there was not even a mattress, only a stone-cold floor. Further back into the prison was where the maximum security cells were located, and these cells were ironically better equipped with a torture chamber and a magnificent look onto the area reserved for executions. So I guess if you're in maximum security, you needed to have a show of people getting hanged, because, that's what everybody needs. A total of 8 people met their end in this prison by means of execution. A great many others died from the ill conditions and undernourishment before they could reach the end of the verdict. And what that basically means, so there was a thing noted in my research that said the life of, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? The lifespan of people in the prison was about 2 years. It took about 2 years for the people to either get executed or die from malnourishment or die from disease, or, even to the point of another prisoner killing them, which was pretty common in there. And aside from prisoners killing each other, another thing that was common in this place was the female prisoners were the kind of bargaining chips against their will. That's the best way I can think to put it without going into too much graphic detail. They were used as bargaining chips with other inmates against their will. According to paranormal investigators and ghost hunters, the very treatment of the jailbirds, and the first-time offenders for that matter, is what made this place become haunted after the jail was shut down in 1953. And like I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this a dozen times before, but being a former ghost hunter, that was some of the places we looked for, is places that had a lot of high emotionally charged energy, not necessarily emotional turmoil, but high emotional energy. Now, this place in particular was high emotional turmoil, but yeah, so it makes sense that this place is considered as haunted as it is. 2 of the people executed were Slim Jackson in 1908. Lots of people named Slim back then. Slim McDaniel bought the place and turned it into a roadside attraction, and Slim Jackson was killed there. And I kind of wonder, because like these days, I could picture someone being named Slim as more of a joke to a guy who's like, 500 pounds. So maybe just everybody back then who was under, say 150 pounds is like, hey Slim, hey Slim, hey Slim. A meeting of the Slims, if you will. He was hanged after being arrested after murdering his wife with a straight razor. And there was an interview done with someone affiliated with the prison at one time. And according to the stories of his murder, he cut her throat so deep that he almost decapitated her. Another was that of Charlie Powell. He was accused of killing a man that had apparently spread rumors around town about his wife, and he was also hanged. 2 murderers, 2 hangings. The good old-fashioned, if you kill someone, we'll kill you back. I wonder who actually had that, for which they said this is one of the oldest jails, I think actually the oldest jail in America. So, I mean, Texas or Florida, who did it first? If you kill someone, we'll kill you back. The old jail, which is now a museum, consists of a restored jail with sheriff's living quarters. It also contains a display of weaponry and a pictorial history of the hangings carried out by the old jail, with emphasis on the time Sheriff C.J. Perry was in residence with his family. The jail is only accessible by guided tour with costume guides processing in the new prisoners. The jail also serves as the grand finale to Old Town Trolley's Ghost and Gravestones tour, allowing visitors to access the building by night as well. As for hauntings, people report hearing sounds of crying and wailing and people screaming in pain. The sounds reportedly come from either the maximum security cells or sometimes from the female unit. But crying is not the only sound that's heard. There's sometimes laughing noises as if someone chuckles in madness, and noises of dogs barking. Dogs barking, since I guess they're going to have a canine unit, and maybe in this place Old Red wasn't the only damnedest dog they'd ever seen. People report hearing whistling hums coming from the place where there is seemingly no one, and like any good haunted place, this one too has cold areas or cold spots where a ghost is believed to be. Some even report being touched by a ghost on the shoulder. Two awful odors can loft through the building. The smell of sewage, which causes an upset stomach in some, and a sickeningly sweet smell that makes the living uncomfortable, have been reported there. And the sickly sweet smell, to me, that seems like that would make you sicker to your stomach than the smell of sewage. But that's my opinion on that one. Now, if you want to read more about the history and hauntings, name drop of the channel. If you want to read more about the history and hauntings of the place, you can check out abandonedspaces.com and hauntedhouses.com. For now, I want to read 2 excerpts from hauntedhouses.com about some of the hauntings that take place there. If there was a bunch of noise just then, sorry, I'm kind of swapping hands around with the mic stand. My arm was getting a little bit tired holding it in one spot for so long. An apparition of a man was seen sitting on a chair. And again, this comes from excerpts from hauntedhouses.com. A cowering apparition was spotted in a cell by a tour guide, but disappeared through a wall. Unseen presences are not only felt by the living, but they also tug at, blow on, and talk/whistle. What's a whistle? Whistle. Whistle to those folks who come inside the building. A male presence was sensed by a psychic pacing the hallway by the kitchen. In one of the women's cells, a very grumpy unseen presence has been known to push and trip people. During a tour guide first felt a punch in his side and then a cold hand moved down his back. But being the professional that he is, the terrified tour guide managed to finish his duties. A psychic medium found an entity that had been seen around the building. She found out that this entity was executed by hanging for a crime he didn't commit, and he was afraid to go to the light because of all of his misdeeds. So it sounds like he got hanged for something he didn't do, but he wasn't necessarily a saint in his day-to-day life. Wails, yells, and moans have been heard by people. An EVP of a nasty laugh was heard by a man opening the safe in the office. The sound of a little girl's voice has been heard in one of the children's bedrooms used by the sheriff warden's family. Shuffling footsteps and the jangling of chains are heard around and on the steps of the jail. Neighbors of this jail have heard disembodied barks of dogs coming from the back of the jail where the prison dogs were kept. Now, there goes old Red again. Must be after somebody. Or maybe his his blue tick hound. Another haunting within the jail is that of a figure known as the Crawler. The Crawler is a shadowy figure that basically spider crawls on the floor of the main cell block and follows people around. So the Crawler, I tried to find more information on the Crawler, but it kind of just seems like, because the Crawler made me think of the entity that was noted way back in episode 1 about Waverly Hills. I think that one was actually called the Creeper, not the Crawler. So I guess the two of them could get together and start a band called the Creepy Crawlies. You know, that's what I'd do. But that, that's just me. But I tried to find more information on the Crawler, but it kind of seems like it was one of those that was just, that was the main sighting for it, was that it crawled on the ground and followed around people that were touring the place. Kind of similar with the Creeper, how it was just kind of seen creeping up and down the walls of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. As for hauntings, it sounds like it's mostly just prisoners who haven't crossed over, and maybe even the sheriff's family, or at least some form of the sheriff's family. But yeah, that's about all I've got on St. Augustine. I could have honestly, and like with most of the places I end up researching, I could have made this an hour-long episode, but I don't think my voice would hold up that long. But I do want to thank you for coming in here today and listening again. Sorry if the quality on this one sucks. I've had a very difficult go of trying to record it, so I'm hoping it comes out okay. But yeah, thank you for checking out today's episode about the old jail in St. Augustine. This was actually requested by Jackson. This is yet another Jackson request that we're doing. And I also wanted to do a Florida haunting with the whole ordeal of Hurricane Ian going on. And, I have a really good friend and coworker that lives down in Florida right now named Denise. Hope everything's, I don't know if she listens or not. I know she's tried to a little bit. But hope everything with you and yours are doing well. All of y'all are doing well down there, staying safe. And, yeah, just kind of wanted to get an episode out about Florida with how they've been getting hammered by this hurricane. Listener support is on Facebook and TikTok. You can find me there. You can find me on Facebook and TikTok. And this morning, before I started recording, I actually made a Twitter page. That one's just, you can find it, Full Moon Empty Road on Twitter, Full Moon Empty Road on TikTok, Full Moon Empty Road on Facebook. The Facebook link, I know for a fact, is at FMER Podcast. The Twitter one just kind of did a generic one, I think. I think it ended up coming up to at Twitter at Full Moon and 1 or something like that. Something weird. Anywho, but yeah, you can hit me up at either one of those three social media places. Now, I have been talking about wanting to start a Instagram, but I've been trying to get it set up on my actual laptop, so I'm not having to keep up with two of them on my phone, and it seems like it won't let me create an Instagram on the computer. I don't know if that's a thing, or if Instagram's strictly mobile or what, or if I'm just so far disconnected from technology these days that I have no idea what I'm doing. But I do now have Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. If you want to get a hold of me, you can also drop me a line at my email, fullmoonemptyroad@gmail.com. And before we go visit Tiffany at the Vinyl and Sublime Company. She can do all things from decals, shirts, tumblers, mugs, and much, much more. She has now no longer officially taken the reins on creating the first Full Moon Empty Road t-shirts, but she has now created some Full Moon Empty Road t-shirts. My parents actually purchased a couple that have been made and came out very, very nicely. Mom, of course, she requested one in a light pink color, and it looks great. Dad requested one as close to Tennessee orange as he could find, and it looks great too. You can find her on Etsy at the Vinyl and Sublime Co. And she even does custom orders. To request a custom order, you can email, text, or use the request a custom order at her Etsy shop. Drop her a line at the Vinyl and Sublime Co. at gmail.com or shoot a text to 706-913-7837 to get started on your custom order today. Go now and tell her I sent you, and there is also a 10% discount code for all of my fans and friends. If you want to order something through the Etsy shop, some of her merchandise, you can use the discount code HAUNTED10. That's HAUNTED10 and get 10% off of your order today. And I just want to say thank you so much again. Thanks for enjoying this episode. I hope it comes out well. It doesn't seem like it's jumping around from me holding the mic this time, so I'm hoping it comes out just fine. And thanks again for checking it out. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of history and hauntings of the old jail in St. Augustine, Florida. And let's go home.